10 Hollywood rumors that turned out to be true. Hollywood runs on two things: money and secrets. For every story the industry confirms, there are 10 it spends millions trying to bury. Publicists deny, lawyers threaten, stars deflect, but sometimes, despite everything, the truth comes out anyway. Today we're covering 10 Hollywood rumors that everybody dismissed, laughed at, or ignored, until they turned out to be completely, undeniably true. Some of these took years to confirm, some took decades, and number 1 was hiding in plain sight the entire time. 10 Tom Cruise and Scientology's control over his relationships. For years people whispered that Scientology played a direct role in managing Tom Cruise's personal life. It sounded like conspiracy territory, the kind of thing tabloids invent. Then former members spoke publicly. Court documents surfaced. Journalists published accounts of an internal process where the church allegedly interviewed potential partners for Cruise to assess their compatibility with the organization. Nicole Kidman's father was reportedly considered a threat. Her phone allegedly tapped. When she and Cruise divorced, her children reportedly distanced from her for years. The rumor that seemed too extreme turned out to have more documented substance behind it than almost anyone expected. 9. Judy Garland was medicated by MGM as a child. People long suspected something was deeply wrong with how MGM handled Judy Garland as a teenager. The rumor that executives put her on amphetamines to control her weight and maintain energy through brutal schedules, then sedatives at night to sleep, sounded almost too monstrous to be true. But through memoirs, biographies, and first-hand accounts, the picture became undeniable. Garland spoke about it herself. That cycle of uppers and downers created a dependency that followed her for life and contributed directly to her death at 47. MGM manufactured one of the greatest entertainers in history and quietly destroyed her in the process. 8. Studios blacklisted actors who spoke out. During the McCarthy era, rumors persisted that Hollywood studios maintained secret blacklists, targeting actors, writers, and directors identified as communist sympathizers or those who refused to cooperate with government committees. Studios denied it. Executives called it exaggeration. Then the evidence became impossible to ignore. The Hollywood 10 were imprisoned for simply refusing to testify. Hundreds more lost careers without ever being formally charged. The blacklist was real, organized, and destroyed lives based on political suspicion alone. Hollywood eventually acknowledged it. The acknowledgement came far too late for the people it had already consumed. 7. Marilyn Monroe and the Kennedy brothers. The rumor that Marilyn Monroe had romantic relationships with both President John F. Kennedy and his brother Robert Kennedy was dismissed for years as tabloid fantasy, the kind of story people invented about famous names to sell magazines. Then, over time, through FBI files released under Freedom of Information requests, through the accounts of people in Monroe's inner circle, and through the documented history of her famous performance of Happy Birthday, Mr. President at Madison Square Garden in 1962, the picture became much clearer. The relationships were real. What remains genuinely unresolved is the nature of Monroe's death just months later. And what, if anything, those relationships had to do with it. The basic rumor turned out to be true. The full story has never been told. 6. Disney covered up significant on-set issues. Disney's public image has always been built on wholesomeness, family values, and carefully controlled messaging. For years, rumors circulated that the company aggressively suppressed negative stories about its productions, its parks, and its treatment of talent, particularly young talent. Former child stars began speaking publicly about the pressures placed on them during their Disney years. Britney Spears, Justin Timberlake, and numerous others who came through the Disney system in the 1990s and 2000s have since described environments where personal autonomy was minimal and commercial considerations came before everything else. The rumor that the machine behind the magic was far more controlling and commercially ruthless than its image suggested turned out to be something the industry now largely accepts as fact. Number 5. Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively got together during Green Lantern filming. When Green Lantern was filming in 2010, Ryan Reynolds was married to Scarlett Johansson and Blake Lively was dating Penn Badgley. Rumors began circulating almost immediately that something was developing between Ryan and Blake on set. Rumors both parties denied completely, maintaining they were simply friends. The official story was that they got together a year after filming, on a double date with other people, when they both happened to be single. but a writer who later deleted her post claimed the relationship began during production in New Orleans. The timeline of both their breakups, happening within the same month, shortly after their press tour ended, has always made the official version difficult to accept at face value. Years later, Ryan himself admitted he knew he had crossed a line during that period. The rumor has never been fully confirmed, but it has also never convincingly gone away. 4. Hollywood knew about Harvey Weinstein for decades. When the New York Times broke the Harvey Weinstein story in 2017, the immediate public reaction was shock. But the secondary reaction, which came almost as quickly, was the realization that the rumors had been circulating in Hollywood for 30 years. Jokes about Weinstein appeared in award show monologues on national television as far back as 2013. Actresses warned each other privately. Agents knew. Assistants knew. Journalists had attempted to report the story and been legally threatened into silence. The rumor that one of Hollywood's most powerful men was systematically abusing women wasn't a secret inside the industry. It was an open secret, one the entire system had decided collectively to protect. When it finally became public, the question wasn't whether people knew. The question was why it took 30 years for the truth to matter. 3. Stars use Ozempic but credit diet and exercise. This one is still technically unconfirmed by most people involved, but the medical community and the press have largely stopped pretending it's an open question. When A-list celebrities began showing dramatic transformations in remarkably short timeframes, while crediting Pilates and cutting out alcohol, the Ozempic rumors spread immediately. Sharon Osbourne confirmed she used it and lost 42 pounds. Several others have since acknowledged it too. For everyone who admits it, many more keep crediting lifestyle changes, while basic medical logic tells a completely different story. The rumor is true, the admissions are just taking longer than the transformations did. 2. Child stars were systematically exploited. The rumor that child stars were routinely exploited was treated for decades as exaggeration. Parents controlled the money, studios controlled the schedules, children had no real protection from either. Macaulay Culkin found his earnings largely gone by the time he could access them. Gary Coleman sued his own parents over his finances. Then, as more former child stars spoke about far more serious abuses, the picture became darker. The industry's treatment of child performers was never a rumor. It was a pattern, one that required legislative change and one Hollywood resisted acknowledging for as long as it possibly could. 1. Rock Hudson was gay. Hollywood knew and said nothing. Rock Hudson was Hollywood's most bankable romantic leading man for 2 decades. The rumor that he was gay circulated quietly his entire career. Everyone in the industry knew. His studio knew. His publicist arranged a marriage specifically to protect his image. The press knew and stayed silent because the studio system had enough influence to make that choice for them. Then in 1985, Rock Hudson became the first major celebrity to publicly announce he had AIDS, confirming everything Hollywood had spent 30 years hiding. His announcement forced America into a conversation about AIDS that the government had been deliberately avoiding. Hollywood's open secret became a catalyst for genuine public health change. The rumor was true the entire time. The cost of keeping it hidden was measured in lives. 10 rumors, 10 truths the industry tried to suppress, deny, or simply outlast. Some of them took years to confirm. Some took decades. And in almost every case, the people who knew stayed silent for far longer than they should have. Hollywood is a machine built on image, and image requires silence. But silence has a cost, and the truth eventually always finds a way out. Which one of these surprised you the most? Drop it in the comments below. And follow FameFiles because we don't wait for Hollywood to tell the truth. We find it ourselves.